to everybody. My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all the educational programs here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And we're extremely pleased to have you all connected here. We've got a great program, we think, and an outstanding guest that we know is an outstanding guest to talk to you guys a little bit about character today. But before I do that, I first of all want to recognize the schools that are participating with us here. So this is your chance to give a little shout out to yourselves. When I call your school, if you want to unmute your mic, say hello, shout, whatever you're allowed doing in your classroom, feel free to do so. We have connected Green Middle School.
All right. Green.
Boy, that was pretty weak.
Can you hear it?
Let's try it again. Green Middle School.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. And go ahead and mute your mics there, Green. Go to Salt River in Arizona. Yeah! Woo! That's your big football fan. Cheering, right? All right, thank you so much. Go ahead and mute your mics. Let's hear from Rock Hill. Enthusiastic. Thank you, Rock Hill.
Rock Hill,
No, it's Ironton, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
The Ironton Tanks, an old professional semi-pro team. And then go ahead and mute your mic, Rock Hill. Let's go Mountain Gap, Alabama. Say hello. There we go. And then lastly, go ahead and mute your mics, Mountain Gap. Thank you. Joe's home state, St. Charles in Michigan.
Yeah! There you go.
There you go.
You're in the dog town.
Joe's a Michigander. So,
Michigander.
Gander, I'm sorry. So I want to thank you guys all for being here as part of the Heart of the Hall of Famer program, and I'll go into a little bit more about the program, how it will function. But if we can have everybody mute your mics for the time being, really what the focus of this program is when we talk about our Hall of Famers. The one thing that can be said about them is that if they didn't succeed, if their God-given ability wasn't in pro football, most of them that are inducted in the Hall of Fame would have succeeded in some other walk of life, whether it's being a great lawyer, a great plumber, a great pastor, a great teacher, whatever it might have been. Because at the core of what makes them great is their character. Persevere through adversity, their leadership, their dedication, their determination, and all those 6 pillars that you guys hopefully studied about beforehand, the trustworthiness and respect and responsibility and all those. You'll see as Joe tells his stories today how all those are all intertwined in everything that he's going to talk about here today. So you guys really, this is an amazing opportunity for you guys because you had the opportunity to talk with one of the greatest football players that has ever played. Now, most of you, and by show of hands, the school that we have on camera right now, how many of you have heard of the name Joe DeLamielleure? Be honest, before this program, before we started doing this, has anybody ever heard the name Joe DeLamielleure? Probably not, most of you. Probably not. Now, how many of you know the names Peyton Manning and Drew Brees? Okay. Well, I can tell you that Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, they hope to be in his shoes someday and be inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So here's an individual that has achieved greatness not only on the field, but has achieved greatness off the field. And you'll hear about some of those stories today. So so I don't mess anything up, I'll just read directly from Joe's bio, his playing career. He was selected by the Bills in the first round of the 1973 draft, All-America at Michigan State University, who had a big win this weekend, right? A big, a gutsy call, a very gutsy call. He won all rookie honors, durable, played in 185 consecutive games, anchored the Bills' famed electric company offensive line, which some of you might know the name Chris Johnson in the NFL right now, who rushed for 2,000 yards last year. Joe was the anchor of the line that blocked for the very first 2,000-yard rusher. As I said, best known as the lead blocker for O.J. Simpson, the NFL's first 2,000-yard rusher in 1973, selected All-Pro and All-AFC from 1975 through 1980. He was named to 6 Pro Bowls and named to the NFL 1970s All-Decade Team. So that's a list of his accomplishments on the field, but he's also got a long list of them off the field as well, and I won't go into too many of them because he'll probably talk about a lot of them here today. But he was born, he was the 9th of 10 children, so he comes from a very large family. and he also raised a large family as well. He has 4 biological kids. He's adopted 2, and then helped raise 3 others. He's been a sheriff. He's been a high school football coach. Has won state titles. He's coached the college level at Duke and Liberty University. So he's been all across the board. But before I introduce him and turn things over to him, I'd like to play you guys a quick clip, if I could.
Guard Joe DeLamielleure was the anchor of 2 all-time great offensive lines. The electric company in Buffalo turned on the juice, running back O.J. Simpson. Joe also led an offensive line in Cleveland that blocked for NFL MVP Brian Sipe and 1,000-yard rusher Mike Pruitt. DeLamielleure would never miss a single game in his entire NFL career, one that was filled with personal awards. An 8-time All-Pro, he played in 6 Pro Bowls and was named the Offensive Lineman of the Year in 1975.
Okay, if you can all unmute your mics for a second and join me in giving a round of applause for a class of 2003 Pro Football Hall of Fame member, Joe DeLamielleure. The way the program is going to run today, Joe's going to have some opening comments that he'd like to share with you guys, a little bit about himself, a little bit more, and then we're going to run with 2 questions from each site, and we're going to rotate through as many times as we can. The order, so start thinking about your questions, Green Middle School. It's going to be Green Middle School, Salt River, Rock Hill, Mountain Gap, and St. Charles. So start thinking about your questions now. I know you guys have submitted your questions as well, so feel free to share those once you're done. So I'll call upon you. I'm going to put the camera on Joe, so you don't see me. I'll just be a voice in the background during the entire broadcast. So with that being said, the stage is yours, Joe.
Okay, thanks, Jerry, and welcome students. Look forward to having this hour with you, and if you have any questions of any kind, just ask me. I'll give you a little bit of my background. I was born in Detroit. I'm the 9th of 10 children. I went to a Catholic school for 12 years, St. Clement, it was called. It's now knocked down. It was built in 1888, and it's one of the old Detroit schools that no longer exists. I went to Michigan State, and I graduated from Michigan State in criminal justice in 4 years, which I'm as proud of that as I am about playing in the National Football League, because it's a full-time job going to school and playing a sport. And I did it in 4 years, and I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I graduated in criminal justice. I got drafted by the Bills, played there 7 years, got traded to the Cleveland Browns, played there for 5, and then I went back to Buffalo. I was one of those first guys going back to the team they started with. But anyhow, I'll answer any of your questions. Like I said, I went to Michigan State and I graduated in criminal justice, but not very long ago I was sitting in the same position you guys were in, and girls. And I don't know if you like country western, but if you ever heard that song, Don't Blink, because life goes so fast, that's what happens. Because I'm not looking at the same guy I'm thinking at on this monitor. I thought I was much younger looking, but I aged somewhere in between here. But my mother always had a great line about life. She said it's like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. So that's about it. But anyhow, let's start out with some questions, and I'll give you one other thing, because I want to mention it before I do anything else. I got this diary here. It's a book like this. I started doing this in 1983 because, like you kids, when you sit in school, sometimes you get bored. So I was my 10th year in the National Football League. I had the same coach for 8 years, and he started going over plays. So I wrote in my book, my very first page is, "This is ridiculous. I know all these plays. From this moment on, I'm going to start writing, and I'm going to keep a diary for the rest of my life. And it's going to talk mostly about my children." And that's what I did. And to this day, I got it today. I know what I wrote in it. I'm going to the Hall of Fame. I'm going to speak to a closed circuit television. That's what, I don't think that's what it's called now, but that's what we called it. And I wrote a book. I hope I can help some kids with some words of wisdom, not from me, but just from my life experiences. And let's start with some questions.
With that being said, let's start it off. Green Middle School, Green, Ohio. They're literally just north of us.
I've been
5
through,
minutes. You've been through Green.
I've been through Green.
So, this is Joe's second home in Canton, Ohio, by the way. So, go ahead, Green.
What character qualities do you believe it takes to be a Hall of Famer?
You're gonna have to speak up a lot louder than that.
What character qualities do you believe it takes to be a Hall of Famer?
Good question.
What qualities?
What character qualities?
Character
Do you believe
qualities?
it takes to be? Yeah. Do you believe it takes to be
Yeah.
a Hall of Famer? Yeah.
I think one of the most important one, and I've covered this before, is honesty. If you're honest with yourself and you're honest with your teammates and your coaches and things like that, then you don't kid yourself. Like, you know, every player or every person has something to work on. If you say, hey, I'm the greatest who's ever played, I don't need to improve on this or that, I think that'd be a tough guy to get in the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Famers that I talk to, every one that I've ever talked to worked extremely hard or played extremely hard at the game. And they tried to emulate somebody who played before them, and then what they would do is just try to perfect their skills. And the thing is, it's kind of boring. What you guys see is a finished product. When you see like Tom Brady or you know, all these great players who are playing, Jared Allen, just so many players that are great out there. You watch him play and you go, man, I want to be like that guy. But you didn't see what went into building him to what he is. He started out like all of you guys in 5th or 6th grade or 7th or 8th grade, started playing football, and he worked at it every day to get better. And that's what people, the guys who don't make it are guys who want to take a shortcut. There's no shortcut to playing professional football or the Hall of Fame. It's a lot of practice, and sometimes practice is boring, but you got to do it.
Go ahead, Green, if you have another one.
Good. Nice and loud.
Who did you look up to as a 7th grader that still impacts your life today?
Who do I look up to as, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Who did you look up to as a 7th grader that still impacts your life today?
Actually, two of my teachers, a guy named Mr. Mosier and Mr. Joyce. And to this day, Mr. Joyce was the best teacher ever. I learned capitals of the United States in the 7th grade, and to this day, I still know him. I know him. You know, I might get one wrong here or there, but he made that a fun experience to do. First of all, learn the capitals. It was fun. And then the other thing was, he was a teacher that really cared. He cared about, you know, besides just being a good student and that, he cared how you acted and how you carried yourself and your citizenship, like how you treated others in school and how you respected, you know, not only the other students, but the school building itself and just everything around it. His name was Mr. George Joyce. And then another guy was my 6th grade teacher, who was Mr. Mosier. And same thing, he took us to the zoo. We lived in an area where it was all factory workers, so we didn't get an opportunity to go to the zoo, to plays, things like that. And he'd take us in downtown Detroit, take us to a play, or he'd take us to the zoo, or he'd take us to a ball game, where nobody else would do that. And he was more than a teacher. He was, you know, a guy who really cared about, you know, what we were doing, not just in his class, but out of his classroom. And so those guys made a big impact on my life. And I think if any of you guys think about it, besides your friends, you don't know, like I said this in the last thing, who had the best record 10 years or 3 years ago? What was the #1 hit? Most people won't know, but you know your best teacher and your best friend, and you'll know that for the rest of your life.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Green. And we'll go ahead from Ohio to Arizona, Salt River. Go ahead with your questions.
How do you even do this?
They asked if
What do you
you.
say?
Go ahead.
Oh, do you miss playing football?
Do I like playing football?
Do you miss it? Oh, miss it.
Do I miss it? Yeah, I do. I miss it a lot because you can never recapture that. I played till I was 35 years old, so I thought, you know, I'd had enough. But to this day, I still miss it. I played arena ball when I was 42, you guys can appreciate this. I boxed for 10 rounds, and that night I played arena ball. I love playing sports because the word is playing. You play. It's not a real job. When I was playing, if I didn't want to shave, I didn't have to shave. I want to wear, a dirty T-shirt and a pair of jeans. I do it. In the real world, it doesn't happen like that. Also, in the real world, if you make a big play, nobody's going to come and give you a high five if you just sold a big insurance policy or you did your job, a regular job. Football is like nothing I've ever experienced before. It was instant high, instant low. You knew if you won, you know if you lost. Guys respected you for how tough you were. If you're tough in the real world, unless you're a teenager or something or in a gang, it really doesn't matter. But the point is, you have to, earn the respect of the guys, and that's what I like most about it. And the most I miss is the camaraderie. Like you guys in there, I can see you screwing around. The guy with the fingers walking across the table. Yeah, you. You do that all the time in football. You can be 30 years old and doing that stuff. And that's what's the amazing thing. So you never really have to grow up while you're playing. And it's fun. It's humans, just like you. I got a good laugh out of you. That's good. But that's what I miss the camaraderie.
All right. Yeah.
There you go.
Is that me?
Any other questions? Got another?
Go ahead, Salt River. Another one?
Now you're back at
Right. You called them out. Now they're scared.
Oh no, they're all right.
What about our big offensive lineman up front?
They wanted to know. Do you have to push this? They wanted to know how old were you when you started playing football?
When he decided he wanted to start playing.
Well, I was in 5th grade. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. My brothers all played. I had 4 older brothers, and they said, start playing. And in 5th grade, we actually got equipment because when I played with my brothers, we had no equipment. And I was never on their team. They would never let me on their team so they could pound me. So they toughened me up. Then in 5th grade, I started playing, and I did pretty good at it. But I played all sports. When football was over, went and played basketball. Basketball over, went to baseball. And my dad had a bar in Detroit. It's still there. It's been there over 60 years. We had 10 kids in my family. The bar would open at 7 in the morning and close at 2:30 every night, 7 days a week. Closed Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter. That was it. And we would work. Like, I didn't even go to kindergarten. My dad had me filling salt and pepper shakers and mustard and ketchup. He kept telling me kindergarten is overrated. You don't need that stuff. You just stay working in here at the bar. You're going to be running the bar. But like I said, I was the first guy to go to college in my family. No one ever graduated from school. Nobody even went to college. And I can relate to a lot of kids. And when I was coaching in high school, I coached at this private school, and I said, look, if I can bring in some kids who are minorities in this school, and they do well, they take the test to get in, can they come here for free? The guy, the headmaster said, yeah, they could do that. So we ended up bringing in these kids. My first year there, we were 6-4. Next 2 years, we won state championship. And the third year there, 7 of my kids got scholarships. And they played football in college, and they've all graduated. But I taught them a lesson like, you're not better than anybody else. You're part of a team. And you got to take one step at a time. That was I preached to them every day. Don't worry about yesterday, and don't worry about tomorrow. Just live today. Do the best you can today, and tomorrow will take care of itself. And you won't have to worry about yesterday. Get it? Just do the best you can every day, and then nobody's going to come after you. You didn't do this or you didn't do that. And they did it. They've all graduated. My best player was, when I took that team over, was a running back. I moved him to center. Oh, he was so upset. He was ready to quit the team. I said, look, my smartest player has to be my center because he's going to call all the blocking assignments. Long story short is he was all league as a running back. He made all league as a center, got a scholarship to Davidson College down in Charlotte, and was captain as Davidson and a center his senior year. Patrick Manley, who I coached at Duke University, he's a long snapper where he snaps the ball. I told him, Patrick, you're the best long snapper I've ever seen. He played tackle. I said, really concentrate on being a long snapper. I think he breaks Walter Payton's record this week or next week for most consecutive games with the Chicago Bears, because he listened. Not that I knew that much. I just saw how talented he was, and he was like, man, I'm a loser. Just a snapper. I said, you're not a loser. That's an important part of the team. Might be the most important part. I think it's his 13th or 14th year with the Bears. So there's a place for everybody, and not everybody's going to be the quarterback, or not everybody's going to be the all-star. You got to know where you're fit and bloom. I always give my mother a saying. She had a saying, bloom where you're planted. So if you're planted in as an offensive lineman, be the best offensive lineman you're going to be. Or if you're a student today, the best student that you can be. You might not be the best in school, but you can be the best you can be. Pretty simple stuff, because life is pretty simple.
All right, thank you, Salt River. You can go ahead and mute your mics, and let's come back to Ohio. Rock Hill, you have a couple questions.
Take on the relationship role as a youth? If so, what was it?
You have to get, we didn't quite catch the first part. Go ahead and repeat
Did
that.
you ever take on a leadership role as a youth?
Good question.
I really, you want to know something? I really believe this. I don't think you take it on. I think it just happens. I don't think you go into any situation and say, hey, I'm going to be the leader of this thing. I did. As a kid, I was always captain of the team, whatever that was in sports. But I did things like, I don't know, I'll give you an example. We had paper drives in school where you collect all the papers and you put them in a big truck. I was always the guy who was saying, hey, let's get this paper drive going, stack them neatly in the truck, get more papers in. I was always one of those guys who just kind of took charge of things. I don't know why, maybe because I was bigger and I could lift more than everybody, so they put me to work. But I think it just happens. I don't think leadership is a guy who goes in there and thinks, hey, I'm going to take a course on leadership. I think a lot of leaders are just born leaders. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but every leader I know, they didn't aspire to be a leader. It just happens.
All right, another question, Rock Hill.
Being in Ohio, you playing for the Browns, what was it like playing against the Steel Curtain defense in the 1970s?
Well, I had a real treat. I played against Joe Green directly. Mean Joe Green. Now, everybody's heard of Mean Joe Green. Now, I always tell people when I do speaking engagements, God did not give me this face. Joe Green did. So, I mean, it was tough. And Jack and I, there was a kid who played, Ron Johnson played corner for the Steelers, and he was from Detroit. So he was from Eastern Michigan, and he knew me as a kid growing up. And it was about my 10th year in the league, and Ron was playing against the Browns in an exhibition game. He played corner, and he got in a little scuffle with one of the receivers. And the ref said, you do that again, I'm going to throw you out of here. He said, well, Joe D and Jack Lambert are fighting every play. He said, yeah, but Joe D and Jack Lambert have been doing it for 10 years. You're a rookie. And Lambert and I would fight all the time, Jack Lambert. And Jack paid me one of my biggest compliments. He said, and I paid him one of his biggest. He said that I hate Jack Lambert. That's what I said to him. But I wish he's on my team. And then Jack said the same thing. He hates me, but I wish I was on his team. So those are compliments you get from guys you play against, and you have the utmost respect for because they're great players. And when you play in the National Football League or you play in college or stuff, you want to play against the best, and the Steelers were the best. And when I got traded to the Browns, I knew I'd play those guys twice a year, and I was anxious to do it. I liked it. But don't get me wrong, I like to play against some stiffs too, where you could look good. But it was a challenge to play against Joe Green and those guys.
Well, let's go ahead. Thank you. Let's head to Alabama, Mountain Gap. You guys have a couple questions for Joe here.
We do. How many championship rings do you have?
I have 0. I said this in the last class, but the most important ring I have, because it's about a career, it's not about a season, is this ring. It's the Hall of Fame ring. And I never thought I'd wear a ring. I'm not a jewelry guy. I don't, I wear a bracelet with titanium in it. Fighting is that's for something else, but that's all I wear. I never thought I'd wear a ring. But when I got inducted in the Hall of Fame and they looked at the ring, I came to, it was like, wow, this is not about a year, it's about a career. And to me, it's the most, it's my biggest accomplishment in sports that I've ever done is get into Pro Football Hall of Fame. There's only 2 right guards in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if you knew that, Jerry.
No, I didn't.
And it's Larry Little and myself. And I always tell Larry, it's kind of strange. We're the only 2 right guards in the Hall of Fame, and we don't make a commercial. They have some young punk kid making it. So I got a perfect commercial. I'd say me and Larry could be looking at a screen like this and go, Larry, look at that guy. He's making a right guard commercial, and he's not even a right guard, and we don't stink. We're in the Hall of Fame. Then Larry could take up a Menon thing and say, we don't make it because we use Menon. That's a good commercial, but we can't get anybody to do it. But maybe since I'm on this TV, one of these kids will be in
If
marketing.
anybody ever grows up to be a producer.
If anybody can get us to make that commercial, we'll give you 50% of the profits because we're making 0 right now. So you can think of something. But I never got in a championship game. Well, in high school we did, but ever since then, nothing. Never even played in a bowl game.
But I think that's a great testament to, not everybody's going to be the champion, but you can still work hard. And
My biggest accomplishment in pro football as a player, they give the Forrest Gregg Award, and it was given to the best offensive lineman voted for by defensive linemen. It was in Appleton, Wisconsin. They presented the award. I got the award, and it was a 2-14 team that I was on, and defensive linemen and linebackers were the only people who could vote. So even when we lost, the guys respected me enough to say, hey, you played hard all the time. So things don't always go your way. And football has taught me that. If things don't go your way all the time, if you keep plugging along and you keep trying to do the right thing and just take it one day at a time, one play at a time, the cream will come to the top. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But for me, in that instance, it did.
let's go to another one, Mountain Gap.
Have you ever gotten seriously injured, and why did you retire?
Okay, I never seriously got injured ever. I never missed a game or a practice since 5th grade, so I'm lucky. I did break this thumb. I don't know if you can see it's all screwed up. Can you see it that way?
Let's zoom in on this.
There you go, you can
There
see
we
it.
go.
It's all bumped up. I broke my thumb. Oh, yeah. See, it's all messed up. See how? But anyhow, it's messed up. I broke this thumb in a game, and they said, oh, now there goes the streak. So I just taped my hand together like this, and I played the whole game, the rest of the game. And then they x-rayed it, and they said, yeah, you broke your thumb. You can't play. So what I would do during practice, I keep the cast on this hand. Then game day, I'd cut the cast off this hand, put the cast on this hand, so they'd all go to this hand. I played 6 weeks with a broken thumb, just tape. That was my only injury. But I outsmarted those guys. You got to be smarter than your opponents. Put the cast on this hand, they thought it was broken. They went to this hand like bees to honey, and they never touched my broken thumb.
But talking about that, going through adversity though, you never had adversity with an injury.
No,
but you had adversity even like when you first
when I got drafted in the NFL, I went and took my physical, and the first time I ever took a EKG, back then they didn't have all the sophisticated things. They just put a stethoscope on your heart in high school and college. So when I went and got an EKG, I had an inverted T wave, it was called, and they flunked me on my physical. So before I ever signed a contract or anything, they told me I couldn't play, and I was the #1 pick. So back then, they don't make the millions of dollars they do now. I was going to get a bonus of $30,000, which was, oh my God, what am I going to do with that much money? But because I flunked my physical, I couldn't get it. So for 3 weeks in that time, I didn't think I could play. My wife, I was married and still am to the same girl. I said, now what are we going to do? Can't play football, now what? She goes, you're going to go be a teacher and a coach or something. Life goes on. So what? We had a setback. What are you going to do? Thank God you're still alive. Then 3 weeks later, I went to the Cleveland Clinic, and they passed me on my physical, and they said, no, you can play. That was a mistake. But in that 3-week period, I realized, first of all, I was married to a great girl who could care less if I played football or didn't play football. And second is, life does go on. When you get knocked down, you just got to get up. I never knew I was going to play again. And once I did play, I said to myself, I'm going to enjoy every minute of this because I had it taken away before I even started. So that was the lesson I learned right there. That was adversity. Thank God it only lasted for 3 weeks. And I never played on a playoff team, and people might think that's tough, but what's tough is a reporter came to me and he said, there's a lot of pressure on you this week for this game. We were playing somebody, could have been the Steelers or somebody. I said, there's no pressure on me at all. I play a game. Pressure's on firemen, policemen, teachers, soldiers. That's pressure. My dad had pressure, 10 kids with no money. That's pressure. Playing a football game, that's pleasure. I said, it's not, it's a game. That's all it was. I always treated it as a game, and that was it. I tried my best. I felt bad when we lost, felt horrible when we lost. But I knew this. If I did the best I could do, it's all I can do.
And I think those are words to live by.
That's all you can do. What are you going to do? If you kids flunk a test and you studied your butt off and you still flunked the test, you know, and only you know, that you did the best you can. But the majority of people who really study and really try and do what they're supposed to do would never flunk a test. Because the tests aren't made to be flunked. They're made so at least you can pass, get a C. But I always told my kids too, we have 4 biological. I adopted 2 Korean boys and helped raise 3 other ones, 2 African Americans and a white kid. And I always told them, all you have to do is prepare every day to do the best you can do, and you'll never fail. You might not do what you want to do. You might lose the game, or you might do this. But if you tried your best, you got to be satisfied with that.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go to your home state, Michigan, St. Charles. Your question.
Hey, Joe. Out of the 6 pillars of character, trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship, which do you believe are most important and why?
Well, they're all pretty important, but reliability is very important to me. To know where you are with your family, your friends, your teachers, and to be there. To be the person you're supposed to be. I hate when somebody says, hey, I'll meet you at 1 o'clock, and they come at quarter after. And they say, oh man, I'm sorry, I was stuck in traffic or something. I know things happen, but to me, when people tell me be there at 1, I always say, okay, quarter to 1, I'll be there. And it's responsibility. Like when you have kids, here's when I learned responsibility is so important. I adopted 2 Korean boys. We drove to the airport. They flew them from Korea to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I live. When it's one thing having a baby, your wife has a baby, she has 9 months, you have 9 months to prepare for it. Kid comes out, it kind of looks like you or your wife. But all of a sudden, you go to an airport, you think you're doing the right thing, you pick up a kid that doesn't even look like you. He's Asian, he's Korean, you don't know him from Adam. One kid we got, he was 3 months old, and then the next one was 4.5 when we got him. That's when you know what responsibility is. Doing the right thing. You grab this kid and you go, oh my God, I got to raise you till you're an adult. And you realize, because my other 4 kids were older, a little bit older, how much work is really ahead when you're not prepared for it. And thank God both those kids have done pretty good. But it's amazing. You realize what responsibility. I really realized what responsibility was. I looked at those kids and I go, man, now I'm responsible for you.
Yeah.
It's tough. It was a tough. After I did, I go, whoa, I may have made a mistake here.
I think if some young people, you see a rise in stuff like teenage pregnancy and stuff like that, if they got to spend 2 weeks.
2 weeks
raising the child, or even a day.
A day, you'd be tired and I always told our kids, like I said, look, when you have a child, and there's a lot of teen pregnancy in this country, don't be there just for the event to get the girl pregnant, or you got to be there for the whole duration of it. You got to raise that child from childbirth till when it's 18, 19 years old and leaves your house, and it's a big job.
Let's go ahead, St. Charles. Another question.
In your football career, have you ever got a touchdown?
Yeah, I did. We played Minnesota. Well, when I was in high school, I played fullback, so I made All-American fullback when I was in high school. But then when I went to college, they put me at guard, and I played guard from there. They fumbled the ball into the end zone against Minnesota. I fell on it and scored a touchdown. The score was 7-0 most of the game. So I'm thinking, man, not only am I going to score the touchdown, I'm going to be the hero of this game. Well, anyhow, Minnesota scored 2 more times. We lost 14-7. So it was a bummer. But short-lived hero. But I did score once.
All right. Well, thank you, St. Charles. Let's come back to Ohio. Green. Do you have? We'll go one question from each school, and we'll rotate as many times as we can. You have a question, Green?
Yeah. What was your favorite sport memory?
My favorite sports memory is my rookie year, and we were playing the New England Patriots, and it was the first game of my pro career that I was going to play in, and that was my favorite game of all time because I thought to myself, you've accomplished something. You're actually playing pro football, and you're starting. I was starting as a rookie, my first game. And what I was thinking was, man, my dad had me when he was 43 years old. I'm the 9th of 10 kids. My mother was like 40. And I'm thinking to myself, all the hard work that they put in, never in a million years did they think, when they had me at age 43 and my dad working his butt off every day at this bar, and my mom who took care of the house, never in a million years did they think, when this guy's 21, he's going to be playing in the National Football League. And I was just starting, and they were introducing the starting teams. I just thought, it's got to be a treat for my mom and dad to have the 9th of 10 kids, first one to graduate from college, actually started in the National Football League.
Great. All right, thank you, Green. Let's head back out to Arizona, Salt River.
His motto and playing in the NFL. What motivated you? What motto?
What model?
What motto?
Role model, or just
Your motto, like.
What was my motto?
Yeah. What was the saying that motivated you?
The saying that motivated me? I just said it to myself all the time. Nobody's gonna practice more or work harder than me. No one on the team. When I'd have a guy, let's say you were going to play behind me, and you go to camp, in between sessions, I go run a couple miles. They go, man, you're not tired? I go, no, absolutely not. I'm bored. I can't wait for the next practice. I played on guys' heads all the time because I pretended, even when I was sore, that I was never sore. I go, man, I feel great, don't you? I wish we had 3 practices instead of 2. Then they get discouraged. They go, dang, I can't. No way am I going to keep up with this guy. So that's how I made it all the guys I talked to here in the Hall of Fame too, they all had the same idea, like nobody's going to outwork you. Nobody's going to practice harder, because it's not just the guys. When I talked to Jerry here, most of the guys who play or who are in the Hall of Fame, most of them are short, or there's something about the guy that you go, how in the heck did he make it? Emmitt Smith. He's little. Jerry Rice weighed about 187 pounds. I thought Jerry Rice weighed 210 or something like that. I look at this guy, how did he make it? Because he's not that big. And I'm not big for a lineman. I was considered small. And the thing is, I would use that to my advantage. I always could never figure out coaches, because they want real big guys to play, and then they're always yelling at them, get low, get low, get low. Why don't you get a low guy already? Because they're better players. You look at Barry Sanders, the guy's about 5'8". Walter Payton's about 5'9", 5'8". The greatest, Emmitt Smith, 3 greatest runners right there. They're all under 6 feet tall. But then everybody wants big, tall guys. I don't know why. But it motivates people. That's what it does. I think you get an attitude to you that, oh, okay, I might be a little bit smaller, but I'm a heck of a lot more tougher than you are. And I'll just outfight you. I'll outlast you.
And that's,
that was my motto. Long story.
Something to be said of that is that no one, that's one of the great things about our Hall of Famers, is that no one would outwork them. I mean, that same work ethic can be applied
To your
every
job.
situation in your life, and what's probably at the forefront of that is doing that is you've touched on integrity, things, you know, like that.
Yeah, the thing is, these guys aren't the best players. Like, truly, the strongest player, the fastest player, they were never the best player that I played against. It was always the guy who was not quite as big, you know, not quite as strong, but they did other things well. And all you do is you got to find your niche, whatever it may be. That the one thing that football taught me was that everybody is good at something. A center is different than a quarterback. Wide receiver is different than a DB. But you can apply that to all parts of your life. And I don't know if they saw the orphanage ride or not. Did you guys see did they show you that orphanage ride I did with our orphanage, ShinskyOrphanage.org? You can go on a website and look at it. Me and my 2 college roommates last year were 58 years old. We bicycled from Michigan State University to Matamoros, Mexico, because we have an orphanage there. I never rode a bike in my life. I practiced 2 weeks before that, jumped on a bike, and we pedaled 120 miles a day on average for 18 days, and we made it down to the orphanage. My one college roommate was an orphan who became a doctor, a PhD, made All-American at Michigan State. The other one was a football player out of Detroit, and went to Michigan State, had 3 knee surgeries, and became director of the Secret Service. And then I got to be in the Hall of Fame. So the 3 of us, we all did 3 different things. One was a teacher, one was a Secret Service agent, and a Pro Football Hall of Famer. We combined our 3 talents, and we made this bike ride. CBS Sports picked up on us, and they showed it before the Butler-Michigan State game. And we have an orphanage in Mexico we've had for 11 years that nobody pays for, no administrative fees. It's just the guys from Michigan State. And we raise money, and we have like 40 kids in there now. It's a cool story about teammates.
And if you guys want to, you know, I sent all your teachers, and this is for all the groups that are connected, I sent your teachers a link to that Shinsky Orphanage. If you haven't looked at it before, I encourage you guys to look at it afterwards. It's a great piece that CBS did during the Michigan State Butler game. So
it's ShinskyOrphanage.org. And the other thing I did, we have Nike wanted to look at this thing. It's a thing I did with Special Olympics. And when I was a kid, like 28 years old, I was playing in Buffalo. This chubby kid, he weighed 240. He was walking around the track. He's special ed. And they put him in a mile run. I don't know why they put him in a mile run, but they put him in a mile run. He was arguing with his parents. So I jumped over the fence because I was chairman of it. I walked him around. It took us like 30 minutes to get a mile. People started cheering. I went home, told my wife, man, I'm glad our kids are normal. It's tough. Anyhow, I get a letter 3 years later. It's in the mail. This kid holding up a newspaper. He won the Special Olympics in 6 minutes and 8 seconds. He ran a mile. He lost 40 pounds, and he won the Special Olympics. And they did a spot on ESPN on this story. His name is Fred Siegel, and he runs to this day. Me and him do runs.
Okay.
He's 45 years old, and he's still running. He won a gold medal when he couldn't even walk 3 years prior to that. So that tells you, when you set your mind to something, you can do just about anything you want.
All right. Well, thank you, Salt River. Let's go to Rock Hill. Question, Rock Hill?
You mentioned earlier about playing on 2-14 football season. What was a motivating factor to keep you playing hard throughout that difficult situation?
I always believe this. When they say you want to be a motivational speaker, I go, I'll try to motivate these kids, but I'm tell you, the only motivation that I know that works is self-motivation. And I motivated myself. You can have any speaker come in and talk to you, do this, do that. I'm just telling you my life story. I'm not trying to motivate you one way or another, because the only thing that motivates you is self-motivation. And I motivated myself just because I wanted to be the best I could be. And I knew that this is my one chance. In football, you see injuries all around you. So I would take it and I'd say, I'm going to enjoy this moment. And I mean, I got to the point where literally I played one play at a time. I never thought about the next play or the play behind me. Just one play at a time. And I coached high school, and I'm so sure that this works. I told the kids after every play, I want you to look to the down marker where that box is. I want you to look at that 1 second before you think, and think, okay, play's over, I'm moving on to my next play, and then look back. And they did it. Every time we finished a play, no matter what it was, everybody looked at that down marker to refocus themselves and say, this is the most important play of my life, this next play. And that's how you win. And that's how you do good in school, and that's how you pass tests. That's how you do everything. Everything's most important at that moment.
And there's something to be said. You're not always going to have a 13-3 year.
No.
I mean, even workplace here.
I had a 2-14 year, and actually the NFL players voted me the best lineman in the league as a 2-14 guy.
And that happens in life. You're not
it
always
does.
Finish.
My wife has a saying too. We're kangaroos. We got big tails, and we can't go backwards. Kangaroo can only jump forward. So try to be kangaroos in your life, and just look forward to things. And things are not as bad as you think. I told you, I don't know if I told this group, I got a diary that I write every day in, and I've done it since 1983. I just tell like what's happening that day. And the point of this book is, what I've learned, the lesson I've learned from this book, nothing is as good as or as bad as you think it is. So it's somewhere in between. And you're going to run into people who you don't think are very important to you, turn out being the most important people in your life, or someone who you think is really a big shot, and really he'll disappoint you.
All right, well, let's go ahead. Thank you. Let's go to the next group. Let's see, we have Mountain Gap next.
What do you think of the huge, like the salaries the NFL players are getting nowadays? Do you approve of that?
I disagree with it. I think there should be a salary cap on the rookies. They should only make so much. Last year, the first 32 players in the league, the year before this, made $428 million. And now this year, they're making they made $528 million. The first 32 guys picked. This year, it's almost $620 million. And they've never played it down in the NFL. And this is their bonus. This isn't their money. This isn't what their salary. This is just a bonus given to the first 32 players. Now, we got players in the Hall of Fame here whose pension is $172 a month. There's something wrong with a league that rewards these players so much money before they even set foot on the field. And in reality, too, why does someone need to make $50 million? I mean, that's absurd, in my opinion. You're just asking my opinion. The guys who built this league are the people, and not only the Hall of Famers, but the guys who played in our era, and they should be compensated. They should have a livable pension. A livable pension. I'm not saying make them millionaires, $40,000, $50,000 so they could live. And I think they're trying, the NFL owners have fooled themselves. They try to fool Mother Nature. You don't pay someone millions of dollars before they produce, because what you're going to have is what's happening right now in the league. A lot of kids who can't handle success. And I always said to my wife, playing in that league, I found out this. Most people can't handle losing, or they can't handle winning. When they're losing, they got their heads down all the time, and when they're winning, they think they're the ones who are they invented the game. So it's somewhere in between there. The guys who are in this Hall of Fame that I know, they take everything one step at a time, and they know that they're not bigger than the game or the team.
All right. Well, thank you, Mountain Gap. Let's go to St. Charles.
I do want to say this, too, about the NFL, about these salaries. When you're laying teachers, firemen, and policemen off and giving them furloughs, there's something wrong, where somebody's got to make $50 million, and they got to sell these tickets for this much money. And these cities that support the teams are laying firemen and policemen off. I don't understand that.
Go ahead, St. Charles.
How do you feel the leadership roles on the football field and in the business world are similar?
Great question.
That's a good question. In the business world, it's a lot more difficult than football, because football, it's done in 3 hours. You know if you won or you lost. And in the business world, sometimes it could take a year before you accomplish your goal. That's the difference between, in my opinion, between sports and the real life. But in the things that's similar is that when you have a team or you're trying to put something together, like in business, everyone has a part. Like there's somebody who's good with marketing, someone's good with technology. When you put the whole team together, then it's a successful company. If you ever came to the Hall of Fame, forget looking at the players, just look at the people who run the Hall of Fame. They have a president, marketing guys, Jerry, who's head of this technological things. It makes it, not one person makes it, it's a whole concept, the whole group of people together. And that's why I think football players a lot of times are really good employees, because they understand team concepts.
Question, St. Charles.
That's a good question.
All right, I think we've got it looks like we got about 10 minutes left on my clock, so let's see if we can get through one more question from each school, and then we'll have some closing thoughts from Joe, and call it a day. So let's go back to Green Middle School. Do you guys have one last question, one more?
How many kids do you have, and what is the most important thing you have taught them?
How many children? I have 4 biological children. I got 6 children with my last name. 4 biological, I adopted 2, and I raised 3 other ones. The most important thing I can give them is really what my son gave me this week. This week, the Cleveland Browns put our names on a wall of fame, and my Korean son, he made a pose like this picture. It was him playing lacrosse, my own son playing football at Duke, and me playing professional football. Basically, it said, Dad, we didn't do what you told us to do. We did what you showed us to do. And it's not what you tell your kids, it's what you show them. If I would tell my kids, look, I don't want you to be abusive, and I abuse them, and I abuse my wife, or I want you to pitch in and help everyone, and I don't do anything around the house except sit on the couch. They're going to do what you do, not what you say. And so the thing I tried to give my children was how to be an adult, or how to be a good kid, doing the right things, and treat others how you want to be treated. My mother always said this, and it's stuck with me forever. Treat the janitor like the president, and the president like the janitor, and you'll never get in trouble. So you treat all people the same, with respect.
All right. Thank you, Green. I think maybe walk the walk, right?
Walk the walk. Don't talk the talk. I used to hate coaches who never played and tell you how tough they were. It used to drive me crazy. Wait a second. When did you play? And then one of the guys who played tell you something. You understood it better.
All right, let's go Green. You can go ahead and mute your mics, and let's go out to Arizona one last time. Salt River.
Yes. Good.
What coach motivated you the most, and how did he do so?
I had a lot of coaches that motivated me. Is that a bad question? Want another one? Or is that okay? The coach who coached, he influenced me the most was my first pro coach. His name was Lou Saban, and he got fired from every job he took. He got fired because he was so honest. He would just tell it like it is. This guy was highly intelligent, and he taught me a lesson in life. We were playing the Jets in New York. This guy could speak fluent Chinese. None of us knew it. He was actually a spy in the Korean War. He came out and he gave the whole speech in Chinese. Everybody's looking at each other. What's this guy talking about? He spoke the whole thing Chinese, pointed at the door. We ran out the door. We beat the heck out of the Jets. Come back in. He said, "Man, I want to teach you a lesson. It doesn't matter what I say. It's what you do all week and what you do out on the field. It doesn't mean one thing what a coach says. He's not going to motivate you to win a game on Sunday because nobody can turn a switch like that. You have to prepare all week for that, and then you have to go out and do it. And that's just like a test. If you guys prepare for a test, you're not going to sneak by on Friday if you didn't study all week. But if you studied every day all week, the test is a breeze. You might not get an A, but you'll pass it. And that's what I learned. That guy taught me, doesn't matter what you say, it's what you do.
And these all point, like I said, directly back to the 6 pillars of character. Trustworthiness and and responsibility. So thank you, Salt River. Let's go ahead and go to Rock Hill. One last question from you guys.
Which team was the better, Buffalo or Cleveland? Which team did you play the best?
Well, both teams I played on, we had good years and bad years. We went to the playoffs in Buffalo, and O.J. Simpson broke a record. He gained 2,000 yards in 14 games. That record still has never been broken. They broke it in 16 games. And then Brian Sipe was the MVP with the Browns. So I was fortunate. I played on some real bad teams and then some real good teams. But the secret in the NFL is it's not the great coach. Everybody says, oh, it's all coaching. It's a combination of a coach and a great quarterback. Vince Lombardi, who's supposedly the greatest coach ever, when he didn't have Bart Starr, he didn't win. When Tom Landry didn't have Terry Bradshaw, he didn't win. When Chuck Noll didn't have Terry Bradshaw, he didn't win. When George Seifert didn't have Montana or Young, he was 1-15 and got fired. The key to everything in life and everything, you have to have a good team. You got to have that great player who's a point guy or whatever it may be in your business or in your school. But you also, the coach has to be like a CEO, kind of directing things. But if you don't have good players, you don't win. My dad, I'll give you another saying my dad always said. He never saw a jockey carry a horse across the finish line. So if you don't have the horses, you're not going to win. My mother also had one other good thing, too, about committees. They're going to send things to committee. My mother said a jackass is a thoroughbred sent to committee. Think about that, teachers. A jackass is a thoroughbred sent to committee.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Rocco. Let's go to Alabama. Mountain Gap. Let's go to one last question from you guys.
How do you like being in the Hall of Fame?
I love being in the Hall of Fame. It changed my life. I mean, I was just, I've always was a good football player, and then all of a sudden I got in the Hall of Fame and I became a better football player. I don't know how, but like my daughter said, Dad, how did you get in the Hall of Fame after 13 years? You didn't play in one game, and you didn't get in for 13 years. The Hall of Fame sets you apart from the rest of the guys who've ever played this game. And I realized that there are a lot of guys who played that should be in the Hall of Fame and are not in the Hall of Fame. But for some reason, God chose me, and I'm going to use it as a platform to help as many people as I can. And it's not about me either. It's about the guys I played with and the former players. That's why I'm very passionate about trying to help the guys with pensions, because the guys who built this league need help. And everybody thinks if you played football in the National Football League, you're a multimillionaire. Nothing's further from the truth.
I think I can speak on behalf of the Hall of Fame. We're glad to have Hall of Famers like Joe D that are passionate about their game, passionate about life, and passionate about the Hall of Fame.
Well, the Hall of Fame it's the best thing that's ever happened in my life.
Next to Jerry DeLamielleure.
Next to my wife, but even my brothers and sisters. When I got in the Hall of Fame, I thought of this. My wife's family and her brothers and sisters and children, and my brothers and sisters, their children, we invited them all. There was 187 people. That was 2003. Now there's probably over 200 and some people. And I carry the torch for those people. I'm lucky.
All right. Well, thank you, Mountain Gap. Thank you, Penny. And let's go one last question. The very last question of the program goes to Joe's home state, St. Charles, in Michigan. Go ahead.
St. Charles.
Hey.
What are some situations or events that took place in your life that you would say had a significant impact on your character?
One is when I flunked my physical, and I found out that I didn't think I could play for 3 weeks, and I found out that nothing changed in my life. People treated me the same. My wife loved me the same. Nothing changed. It didn't matter that I played football or I didn't play football. They were just concerned that I was going to be okay. Another really significant thing was rooming with my roommate, who was an orphan, and he got a chance to come to Michigan State and he turned his life around. It made me think if I ever had an opportunity, I was going to adopt some kids, and I did. And the third one was getting in the Hall of Fame was life-changing. But when I did the bicycle ride from Michigan State to Mexico 2 years ago, I was 58 years old. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I never rode a bike. I practiced 2 weeks before that. And I thought to myself, if I can do this and get it done and do it in 2 weeks and accomplish, or 18 days and accomplish our goal, then I've done something that I've always preached. Do it one day at a time, one pedal at a time. And I want to see if I can do something physical that really hurt and see if it really works. And it did. I finished it. We did the 2,000 miles, and I accomplished the goal that I never thought I could accomplish at age 58. And when I go in my grave, I know my kids always say, Dad, they'll say you're in the Hall of Fame, but they're also going to say, that idiot rode 2,000 miles in 18 days and didn't even know how to ride a bike. But I did it. And you can do anything that if you think you can do it, you can do it.
All right. If you have any last closing thoughts that you'd like to share, I think maybe as much for the teachers out there as the students, but you had a great analogy. You know,
okay.
You got your sheet of paper there.
I got my sheet of paper that I can rip up.
You can rip it up now. You don't need
Okay, a guy was was watching a basketball game or a football game in Ohio. Ohio State is king. I mean, everybody knows the big fans in Ohio and Texas, but this guy was watching Ohio State play Michigan, and his son wanted to play go throw the football with him. The game just started. He said, Dad, let's go throw the football with me. No, wait till after the game. Wait till after the game. And then they came in again a couple minutes later. The kid was like an 8 or 9 year old kid. Come on, Dad, please, let's go play. Look, I'm busy. I'm watching the game. So he got frustrated with the kid. There was a sheet of paper like this, but it had the atlas of the world on it, okay? It was like the globe of the world. So the father said, this will keep the kid out of my hair for a while. So he took this paper like this, he ripped it up, put it in about 6 pieces like this. He said, here, kid, put this picture of the world back together, and I'll come out and play with you as soon as you do that. He figures it's going to take him a couple hours. Kid comes back, like minutes later, the world was already back together. He said, here, Dad, here it is. And he said, how'd you do that so quickly? He said, Dad, on the back side of this sheet here, there was a picture of a boy, a little boy, and I just put the boy together correctly, and when I turned it around, the world had fallen into place. So if you put the boys and the girls and the students together correctly, the world will fall into place. So I hope I got that story when I was like a sophomore in high school, and I've never forgotten it. If we put the kids together correctly, the world will fall into place. So thanks for having me, and good luck to the students.
Let's go ahead, and if you guys will join me on your
We love you.
I hope I didn't bore you. That's what I tried to get through this day without boring all the kids, so hopefully it went through.
Well, we just want to say thank you to all the groups. Thank you, first of all, Joe, for joining us today. We've got to entertain students all across the country here today, and I know I've learned personally, there's things I'm definitely going to take away from this and relate into my own personal life as well. But we want to thank the teachers out there for taking the interest in this and setting this up, the students for all the great questions, and a couple folks to thank. E-Tech, who's the state bridge for us that helped put this conference together that you guys all worked through. Thank you to all the folks there at E-Tech in Ohio here for all your help. So just want to say thank you. This is a program that's going to be offered monthly. We've got guys like Mel Blunt and Alan Page and a whole bunch of other folks that will be doing these broadcasts in the future. So make sure you stay tuned for those, and we'll hopefully see you guys again soon. Take care.